I think one of the more underrated fantasy writers of our time, believe it or not, is Neil Gaiman. I've read a lot of his books, and today I want to share with you why I think you should read Neverwhere, his fantastic tale of one man's adventure through London's magical underground. Okay, so here's the deal. The first time I heard a description of Neverwhere, I was actually listening to Neil Gaiman's masterclass on writing, which is a separate recommendation. That's for a different video. And the way he described it was, he was talking about the genesis of the idea for it, and he said, what if I wrote a book basically about the homeless of London? It's the world of the homeless people of London. And look, I'm going to be completely frank and open with you, because I think admitting bias is one of the first ways to starting to overcome bias. That description didn't really get me too excited about the book. I thought it was going to be preachy. I thought it was going to be like a shame on everyone for ignoring the homeless type of thing. And that was maybe wrong of me to do that, but no one likes to spend a full book just hearing about how poorly they are treating their fellow human beings. But eventually I did pick up an audiobook version of this story, which is a delight because I think Neil Gaiman's got a great voice, and he reads like all his own books. It's exactly the type of voice you can imagine as a great, kind of English storyteller reading you a story and taking his time doing so. And after getting through it, I'm gonna say it, I am sad I let myself get chased away the first time, because it was really fun. It was really good. Okay, the book follows a character named Richard Mayhew. This guy is vanilla, if vanilla came in gray. He is walking along with his fiancée, and then one day this girl who looks all battered, her name is Dor, she kind of tumbles out onto the sidewalk in front of him. She's looking worse for wear, and Peter decides, well, we have to help this girl. And he picks her up and kind of takes her home. And that kind of starts his descent into London's underground. And when he does that, he basically becomes invisible to the above-ground world of London, including all the people in his past life. So he can't get taxis. He can't seem to get anybody's true attention anymore. And he gets sucked into London's underground world, which becomes a just fantastical, magical, whole other universe. Then we get to have a whole fun adventure where he discovers how he can grow his own backbone and not just bend to the whims of other people or the modern society that we just kind of walk through in this dance that we do all day every day. I think there's lots of reasons to love Neil Gaiman's Neverwhere, and here are 3 of them. Number 1, it's not preachy, but it has a very important theme and message. So the whole magical system inside Neverwhere is based on this idea that the homeless population living in big cities is basically invisible. That concept itself comes across as not like a pleasant, warm conversation that you are going to have with your friends over drinks. You know what I mean? If you come into the party and you're like, guys, let's talk about the invisible homeless in our city. It's not necessarily first date conversation, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So he manages to wrap this message up in a way that makes you feel adventurous. It makes you feel happy to be along on that journey and happy to be along for the ride. As basically we get to see the main character discover what it is like to become a member of that society and become so ostracized from the above ground world that he doesn't even know if what he's experiencing in the underground is real or not. So that's a really cool reason to like the book. I think it's a nice way to talk about a message that's otherwise kind of uncomfortable. Another huge reason, number 2, is Mr. Krupa and Mr. Vandermeer. Now, these two have to be the funniest character duo, maybe since, our 2 favorite burglars in the Home Alone films. Listen to the description Neil Gaiman gives these 2. There are 4 simple ways for the observant to tell Mr. Krupa and Mr. Vandermeer apart. First, Mr. Vandermeer is 2.5 heads taller than Mr. Krupa. Second, Mr. Krupa has eyes of a faded china blue, while Mr. Vandermeer's eyes are brown. Third, while Mr. Vandermeer fashioned the rings he wears on his right hand out of the skulls of 4 ravens, Mr. Krupa has no obvious jewelry. Fourth, Mr. Krupa likes words, while Mr. Vandermeer is always hungry. Also, they look nothing at all alike. I mean, that gives you such a great taste of what the humor and the literary voice of this book is. And I cannot tell you how many times I laughed out loud when I read or heard one of Mr. Vandermeer's lines in particular. He cracked me up. He just has that great, almost buffoon sidekick thing going for him. Oh, it's just a delight. Number 3. So not only can you enjoy the book, there's also some other iterations of this that you can enjoy as well. So the BBC Radio did a radio dramatization of the book, and it stars some really interesting folks, including James McAvoy, Natalie Dormer, Benedict Cumberbatch, Christopher Lee. This radio series happened a while ago, but since then, a lot of these people have become stars in their own right. But if radio is not your fancy, there was also a mini-series done for television. It didn't necessarily do incredibly well. I think it probably got a similar reception as the television series for Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. For some reason, it just didn't quite catch, but it's similar kind of genre, similar type of audience reception. And like I mentioned, the audiobook is an absolute delight because I think Neil Gaiman does a great job reading it. So anyway, there you go. There's 3 reasons why you should get into Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. And just enjoy the heck out of it. Half the time you're going to be wondering what's symbolism and what's just fun storytelling. And that's exactly that nice, vague, gray area, I think, where Neil Gaiman loves to spend his writing time. Anyway, that's it for me today. I'm going to get back to writing my novel draft. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss another one. And I will see you all soon. Hey, you hang in there. Just enjoy reading.